thank you for joining in.
No problem.
I don't try to invite people on to argue, you know, so please don't please don't get that as the gist of the point of the conversation. But yeah, man, so shout out to Chris. You guys welcome him in the chat. But yeah, man, thank you for joining us. So I believe you're from Louisiana, so tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, sir. Before we start, you mind if we just start off in prayer just to kind of, you know, get it started real quick?
Yeah, no doubt, bro. I got you. Heavenly Father, we thank you for your mercy and your grace, allowing us to be in your presence, God. We pray that every bit of our conversation will be fruitful, will be edifying to the body of Christ. I pray that we can challenge one another and let iron sharpen iron. I pray that your will be done, and we give you all glory and honor in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Let's get it.
Talk to us.
So yeah, I am from Louisiana, New Orleans, originally. I am an attorney. I'm an actor, trainer, model. I do a whole bunch of different things, right? But yeah, man, I appreciate you just having me on to, I guess, speak my piece from, I guess, a little clip of the whole session.
Yeah,
but,
I know that.
Appreciate that.
Oh, sorry. No, I was saying, and that, I feel like that's the problem with the internet, because it's easy for me to catch one little moment and then completely misunderstand everything you try to say, right?
Yeah.
So I made a reaction to that because, you know, it got sent to me, and I'm looking like, well, I mean, he's not wrong on this, but there are some parts that I feel like if I don't say anything, you know, I feel like people may get the idea, okay, well, the whole thing was okay. And I didn't think the whole thing was okay. So there's a few questions I wanted to ask you in regards to that. Number one would be, what is your definition of beautiful? What is your definition of beauty in general? What do you define as a beautiful woman?
Yeah, and that's actually, I wrote it down too. That's actually something I want to kind of talk about first, right? Look, before we even get started, me and my brother, what's your name again? What's your official name?
Tavares, bro, Tavares.
So me and Tavares, we're on the same team, right? We're Team Jesus. That is the goal, right? It's to build the kingdom. So this is not like an argument or a debate trying to tear down each other. We're just two minds, like you said, sharpening each other as iron sharpens one another. I want to first go off and say that, look, every woman, every person, but every woman that was created by God's hands is beautiful, right? Beautiful in her own right. She has her own gifts and talents that God has blessed her with, that bless you with, right? So I don't want to come off as I'm saying that, oh, there are women that are beautiful, or they don't have this or don't have that. That is not what I'm saying at all, right? However, when I was talking about the video, I was talking about a specific woman like my wife. I'm only gonna marry one person, right? So this is like extremely specific to the wife that I personally want. And beauty, the definition of beauty, right? So this beauty is very subjective, right? It's in the eyes of the beholder. And I don't think, you know, of course, Netflix might want to argue with me, but I don't think love is necessarily blind, right? I think aspects of it is, but I think there's a very physical aspect that you have to have, and that you're thinking of a beauty when you think about it, right? For me, I think one part is beautiful is a woman that's striving to be the best she can be, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and all those different aspects. It's not just one or the other for me. You can be in the church all day. You can be a pageant girl. You can have all these things, but beauty is a collective thing for me. That's just for me. Everybody teaches his own, right? So for me, it's a physical attraction, right? I like a body type that, hey, this woman takes care of her body, right? Hey, I'm big on fitness, right? I train, I do all these things. So fitness is a big part of my life. I would love for my wife to have fitness a big part of her life as well, right? That doesn't mean you can't grow. There's always different levels to grow at, right? But those are some things that are attractive to me. I love pretty teeth, right? I love a beautiful smile, right? That's what is beautiful to me, you know? And hey, look, to each his own. Whatever you think is beautiful in your own right, hey, love it, do your thing. That's the person you're married. So you need to think, hey, this person is beautiful in my eyes, because that's all that really matters.
So when I mentioned, and I sent you the video link because I didn't want anything that I bring up to like seem blunt, like it caught you off guard. But one of the things he mentioned in the video is, you know, like he just said just now, fitness is a big part of his life. And he was just like, the woman can have that ideal physique, and then you're wondering, man, what about the spiritual life? So one thing I made mention is, well, you're clearly a person who works out, right? So I understand there's it seemed to be a new concept, whereas we think God is a genie. He's just going to give us whatever we want. But I think a lot of times you should only ask for something you're willing to reciprocate, So I was like, I'm perfectly fine with someone in the gym saying they desire someone to work out as well. That was something that I desired. But my thing was, I was looking at it like, well, for one, some women go to the gym for years and they don't look like the woman who doesn't even have to go to the gym. You know what I mean? So it was just like, there's certain aspects, whereas
That's
obviously it's just a preference thing. So there's some women who, if you ain't 6 foot, you're not getting opportunity to talk to them. There's some people that if you're not a Latina, you're not a Caucasian male, you're not a dark-skinned woman, they will not pay it. So I'm not telling you your preference is a wrong, you know what I mean? That's not the point of me asking that. But my issue with it was you were saying a couple of things in regards to, you feel as though they don't have that, they're not having both components, that you would desire for a woman to have. But I'll say this, and bear in mind, not coming at your neck, but I need to say it. So I saw your page months ago, you know what I mean? Because I'm trying to understand how these reels work. I don't understand how reels work. Then I was like, oh, okay, well, this guy, getting popular off saying he's a virgin. I'm like, oh, wow, a guy in his 20s, you're like mid to late 28-year-old man saying he's saving himself for marriage and all these things. And I'm just like, wow, that's phenomenal. I think a lot of men will say that's admirable. A lot of men, we compromise in order to impress other guys. And a lot of ladies, they'll throw themselves at you just by hearing that, you know what I mean? So I was like, okay, well, I can respect that. But my question was, why don't you have on a shirt when you tell us these things? I'm looking well, the page is very encouraging, but in my opinion, you're saying you desire a godly woman. I don't see one godly woman, and I don't say it with any type of disrespect, but I don't see one godly woman that'll look on your page and be like, man, that boy's so sanctified. You know what I mean? They're probably going to look like, the first thought that will come to their mind is, well, I already know where this is headed. You know what I mean? So you obviously may be able to use, obviously the spirit of discernment to know if someone is only coming at you for your looks. But how does a godly woman look at your page and say, that's a godly man, without having to speak to you? How do you think that comes across?
Right. Look, I'll be the first one to tell you, I definitely have pictures with no shirt on and stuff like that, right? Like I said, fitness is, a big part of my income and a big part of my brand. Is something I love, right? And I think it is important for me. God has blessed me with the opportunity to work out, right? I know there's people that literally cannot work out, right? They just are physically incapable of doing that. So he's blessed me, especially from playing football all my life, to have the ability to work out, right? So I try my best to honor him with that, right? To work out, to be the best I can mentally, emotionally, and as well as physically, right? I think that matters just as much as the other two things, right? It's about being your complete and best self. So why I post how I post, right? One of my goals is, it's weird because, people always say, oh, I'm posting thirst traps and stuff like that, which honestly, I'm really not. Like, if I'm being 100% honest, I promise you.
Stop the cap.
I promise you I'm not posting thirst traps.
Hey, y'all put some caps in the chat. Put some caps in the chat.
Hey, I'm being for real. I'm just being 100. Now, with that being said, if I was 300 pounds, right, and I had my shirt off, it wouldn't be a thirst trap. Now, would it? It would just be,
for me,
he's a confident man with big.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
He's just a big guy that's taking his shirt off, right? That's not, thirst traps is very subjective, right? And then with that also being said, women, and bear with me, right? Men and women are created equally but differently, right? Men, we are very visual creatures, right? So we normally, we equate attraction with sexual desire. Right? Usually, when you see a woman with her breasts out or whatever, most men gonna think immediately sex, right? A lot of women, I'm not saying all women, right? A lot of women, it takes them, they need emotional and mental stimulation in order to have sexual desire for a man, right? They can have a man that's fine, that's a model, and look the part, but if they don't have that mental and intellectual stimulation, they're not just desiring to have sex with the guy, right? Not saying there's not some women that do that, but just women are more emotional creatures, especially when it comes down to sex, right? So to be honest, I've gotten buku women that says, hey man, I love what you're doing. I love your page. I love the content you're putting out. I love the funny spins you're doing with it. I love the fact that you look a certain look, but still living your life under authority and still living your life, you know, as what God called you to, right? And I think for me, I think it's important to show young men and women that, man, like you can do all those things, right? You can be in the gym, killing it, right? You can be an athlete. You can be in a fraternity. You can have the degrees. You can still be a virgin, and you can live your life to a godly standard and say, you know what? Hey, this is me, right? This is me, period. And look, trust me, I know where the line is. God has given me conviction on certain things, especially like earlier when Instagram was certain popping off, that I was like, nah, I got to take that out. That's not it. That's not it. That's not it. So he's definitely giving me conviction on certain posts, right? But the posts I've looked through my page right now, the posts I see, I don't get any conviction. And I talk to brotherly counsel and people that are on a certain level spiritually as well to kind of lead and guide me. I don't see anything that I'm intentionally trying to be a stumbling block for women. That has never been my goal. It's not my goal. I'm not, look, that's not my goal is to get women to attract me so I can sleep with them.
So let
By
me say
far,
this.
that's not my goal.
Let me say this. All right. So, because I don't want you to hear what I'm not saying, right? So when I was a virgin, you know, I thought, well, I ain't sleep with nobody, but I still had a lust issue, right?
I feel
I ain't
that.
sleep with nobody, you know, it's just porn, it's just lust, it's just my thoughts, it's just this, it's just that. But a lot of times, like you just said, I know the line. We don't know the line. And that's the thing. A lot of times I think we get the impression, well, I could do this, but I'm not doing that. It was no big deal. And the reason why I say it's a problem, because you may not post it with the intention to do that, but it doesn't matter what my intention was. If I pull a trigger, somebody gets shot, they're going to die. I could tell the cop, my intention was never to kill anyone. Okay, cool, but I need you to go to prison now. You know what I mean? Like, I cannot control the outcome of what happens. There's Paul speaking in either Romans 13 or 14, and he's saying, I'm not going to do something if it causes my brother to stumble. And he's talking about food. He's talking about there's obviously no other God. We're not worrying about these things. But if I know eating chicken in front of this dude is going to cause him to stumble, I'm going to be a vegan. I'm just simply not going to do something. So you're saying, well, my intention when I posted these pictures in brief, listen, I ain't worrying about who's stumbling because I ain't sleep with nobody. It doesn't matter what I decided, you know, my intentions were. The thing that I think we need to focus on is what is everyone else's perception. Because if someone isn't saved and they can look at it like, okay, cool, no big deal. But if someone is saved and now a woman who's trying to keep her mind right, now she's looking like she's trying to worship, she's thinking how great is our God, and you know, she thinking about more than the goodness of God while she's singing. You know what I mean? So it's just like it may not be your intention, but that's the thing. It's not a matter of David's intention was never to have Uriah killed, but because of his mistake, it led to more issues. You know what I mean? So I feel as though something that I definitely would challenge you on. I'm not going to dive too much deeper into that because I wasn't planning on keeping it long. I literally hear my son screaming in the room next door. But that was one thing because I just didn't understand how, you know, how can I, if I'm not saved, look at the page and say, oh, that's a man of God? Because one could say, well, I'm looking for a godly woman, but I don't see a godly woman, and I don't speak on behalf of them. They could speak up in the comments. They can speak up, you know, wherever they want and say what they desire. But it's kind of hard for me to say that a godly woman is going to see that and not be uncomfortable or not feel as though this guy is not, he's lustful, because it's going to just portray that that's how he's carrying on. So one thing I'm going to bring to your attention, you mentioned, you know, and I think the guys are right. I definitely don't think you guys have to be at the same exact spiritual level. One thing I said in the YouTube video was that if a person is like a pastor and they marry a new convert, to me, that's like, nah, bro. Like, I don't even understand. Like, you're marrying somebody who doesn't really fit your purpose. Like, it seems like you just marry anyone who's saved. So I definitely think spiritual level matters. Like you said, as long as you're in the same ballpark, you know, you mentioned a willingness to learn and to grow. You know, you're able to help guide her to, you know, to grow spiritually into who God has called her to be. But my rebuttal to it was the fact that you mentioned you were willing, as long as she's beautiful and she's willing to grow, you're willing to help her. But it wasn't a woman who's spiritual but not as attractive that you're willing to grow with her. So why is it that it's okay for us as believers to compromise on the spiritual, but not compromise on something physical, when the Bible says that charm is deceptive and beauty is vain. It doesn't last. You know, but
Right.
woman of fear of the Lord shall be greatly praised. So why is it that we can compromise on spiritual, but not the physical aspect?
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I'm gonna take it like this. So I wanna be unequivocally clear, right? So like, if there were two options, right? A woman that's a 10 on a scale of 1 to 10, a 10 physically and a 4 spiritually, right? And then there was a woman that was the vice versa, a 10 spiritually and a 4 physically. I would clearly take the spiritual 10. Because why? Simply because God said, hey, that's the one that would be better for your life, right? Now, thankfully, that there's many other options above than the 10 and 4, right? I was not saying that, hey, you know, a woman that us as Christians, we need to compromise spirituality, right? And the spiritual maturity. I was saying that if she has a strong foundation spiritually, she's a woman that loves the Lord, that's submitted under the Lord, right? That foundation is there. She does not need to be, I don't look for her being the priest over my home, because that's my job, right? So I'm not looking for my wife to be like, oh, she got to be here or above me spiritually to, you know, to make that my wife, because that's not her job. My job is to lead, to cultivate her, right? So that's why I said, like, from a physical beauty standpoint, I feel like you can't, there's only so much you can alter, like, physically, right? And I'm not talking
Were you
about,
talking about face or were you talking about body? Because you're a trainer.
we're
So
talking
I
about
mean,
everything. We're talking about
okay.
beauty, the top to bottom, right? There's only so much you can do, right? Yes, you can get fit, you can work out, get a little tone, right? And that's all great. But one, your face is your face, right? Your features are your features. And I'm not really a big fan of the whole plastic surgery thing. So how you look, to a certain extent, is how you look. You only can cultivate that so much to a certain extent. But spiritual aspect, if you have a woman that's on a certain base level, right, a good foundation, loves the Lord, don't understand certain principles, right, in the spirit, if she has those things already, I can pull and cultivate those things out of her a lot easier than it would be to cultivate the physical aspects, because there's only so far that can go, right? And then God can literally take somebody that's at a spiritual whatever number, right? Whatever. And in a month, they could be at a completely different level, right? Just because of their experiences, because their thirst for God, for their thirst for knowledge, they can go tremendously to a different level. So I was saying that at that foundation, I need that regardless, because I'm not jeopardizing my future and my destiny for a woman that's just a pretty face and a banging body. Not happening. I'll pass that. I'm not falling like that, right? So I just was saying that ideally I want both, but if I had to get like nitpicky with that, I would rather somebody I can cultivate spiritually, because I don't look for her to be the spiritual priest over my home.
No, that makes sense. I think that's why it's definitely great that I allowed you to be on. I didn't think it would be fair for me to say, oh, that's a perfect video to react to and not give you a chance to hit for anyone to hear you. I don't think that's right. I want to think that would be fair. So that's definitely the reason why I was like, okay, well, perfect. Well, if I got this video, I want to have them on for a follow-up. But so I agree with that. I definitely don't believe you're just home praying and fasting all day. So I'm not saying shouldn't be attracted to you. So that's a healthy desire. Anyone in the comment section pretending that's not serious is lying. We all want to be physically attracted to our spouse as well. You know, I don't think.
I hope so.
I don't think. Well, I would hope so. I don't think that's a lustful mindset just by saying that. I think that's a healthy desire. But what I will say is this. You know, so you mentioned, you know, long as she has like a spiritual foundation. You're not talking about just being saved. You're talking about like mature enough that we could.
Yeah,
okay,
I'm not.
okay.
No offense, and I get that, but I'm not where I'm at just in my life and my walk. I can't be with somebody that's just now getting saved. Just you know what I mean. I need you to understand certain principles, certain levels. You gotta be able to run with me at least, right? So yeah, it's not just like, oh, this person just got saved or being unequally yoked. That's a real thing, and I get that 1,000%, right? And then I wasn't saying get with somebody that's unequally yoked, right?
Yeah, no.
That's not what I was saying at all.
I'm not implying that. But if anyone
No,
sees
I know. But some comments, that.
somebody sees a 1 minute clip, it's easy for them to think that that's all you were saying.
Right.
So I'll say this, because I feel as though I feel as though my entire life, you know what I mean? And all the ladies in the comment section can agree, but in my entire life, women have always outweighed the guys in church.
That's fair.
Always,
That's fair.
always women serving God. So it's more than likely you can find a beautiful woman, 10 out of 10, that loves God, than a man that would be considered a 10 in their eyes that loves God, because they outweigh us, you know? So my thing is,
women have the same issue.
yeah, no, I get it. But you made it seem like it was a shortage. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking like, man, there's a lot of women out there. Like, where's he looking? You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, get out of Walmart, hit up Target or something. So I was like, nah, he must be in the wrong section. You know, so I was just confused by that. But I will say this, especially for the people listening, and I'll have you comment on it. I think a huge problem that we're facing with this dilemma on, man, I can't find a handsome guy, or man, I can't find a beautiful woman that, and you really want them to serve God, but it's like, yo, it's like, can y'all have both? That's something that I used to say. And that's why, thankfully, my wife, Safa, wasn't at my church, because I felt like, well, I'm not attracted to the ones at my church. This is frustrating. You know, thankfully, she didn't go to my church. But the reason why I'm saying that is I feel as though social media is one of the biggest problems in why we're feeling like women aren't attractive. Because when a woman is actually godly, I'm not talking about a woman in church. Anyone could get mad all they want in the comments. I'm not talking about a woman who said some sinner's prayer. I'm talking about a woman who loves God, who loves the things of God, who's actually growing spiritually. 9 times out of 10, she's not going to look anything like the woman in the world. So the issue is, now you have a woman that's modest. You have a woman that carries herself respectfully. You have a woman that doesn't tolerate foolishness. You have a woman that, you know, that expects, you know, greatness out of the man that she's going to be pursued by. But these women tend to not carry themselves like, you know, I don't want to say the wrong word and then, you know, they take me out of context, but they don't carry themselves how worldly women carry themselves. And unfortunately for them, because they don't show all their body all over social media, because they don't throw themselves in every guy's inbox, because they don't, you know, here's a cheap picture, you know, every picture is a side view to show how thick they are with a Bible verse at the bottom, because they're not doing all of these things, seeking attention. Godly women are not viewed as beautiful anymore. Godly women are viewed as boring. Godly women are viewed as, man, she's too tacky. I can't, man, she corny. Like, we got nothing in common. When in reality, she's just not entertaining my carnality. So my thing is, how does a woman compete with the worldly woman if we are constantly consumed by social media, constantly consumed by pornography? We don't think it's pornography, but half of the people we're following may be pornography. So how does a godly woman even be seen as beautiful when we're constantly thinking the models of the world are the standard? So what are your thoughts on that?
Right. So, I mean, that's a really good point, right? And I think, I'm not gonna say all men, but I think most men, like, I don't know, man, we have this thing to where, like, you can see a woman and I don't know if it's wrong that we do this or what, but I think we all as men do this, I guess because we're just visual creatures. We see a woman and it's like, it's either immediately lust or it's immediately like beauty, right? And it's like, so even in my past, I've seen certain women that I don't even think about sex. Like, sex doesn't even come to mind. I'm just like, wow, this woman is gorgeous, right? It has nothing to do with sex. Literally nothing to do. Or you can see a woman on TV or whatever, and your mind goes immediately to sex, right? So, like, what is that difference? Like, how does that happen? And I was like looking up a couple verses, man. And how does a woman kind of separate herself from culture, right? Because I know in America we have the standard of beauty and everything like that it needs to look like this, right? I mean, just look at. I think obviously you have to carry yourself in a way, right? But like the character aspects, I think all those are given. Like, you need that, and that's something that you're going to fall in attraction to. But you're not going to get to know You're not going to get to know those aspects if you're not physically attracted to that person first, right? As a man, right? You're not going to shoot your shot at a woman you're not attracted to. It's just not going to happen. But so even in the Old Testament, when Abraham did it twice, right? With Sarah. Sarah was so beautiful, right? Physically, that he lied to the Egyptians to say, oh, this is my sister, because he was afraid that he might get killed, right? So I do think there's a certain level of beauty that's like that surpasses lust, to be honest. Like, that's so much better than lust that you're not even, as a man, you're thinking that, right? So you're just like, man, I can appreciate this beautiful woman, right? Now, mind you, That's different for everybody. Some people like this model, some people like that. That's different for everybody. But I do think there's a level that women can, and my whole thing is I think you can achieve that when you're your best self, right?
Mhm.
So as a woman, if you're, you know, doing all the things spiritually, mentally, emotionally, healing, doing all those things to have some style, have some swag, right? Doing all these things that's being your best self, I think there's going to be, because all you need is one, there's going to be a man that's like, man, this woman here is beautiful, is gorgeous. Because all you need is one. You don't need to appeal to all men in the world, right? You just need one man that's going to think that, man, you're the most beautiful woman that's ever existed. And as a man, you should feel that way about your woman. It don't matter how she can, whatever, to everybody else. You as a man, if you're getting married, you need to be like, man, my wife is the best thing ever, right? And if you don't feel that way, I don't know why you get married in the first place, right? So, I mean, I think it's very difficult sometimes because, you know, media and standards, we kind of flood a certain look, right? But I definitely think if a woman is actively and consistently trying to be her best self, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and got the swag, got all these different things, right? Some man is going to think, hey, this is the most beautiful woman in the world.
Right. So
I don't know if that's a definite answer, but
no, but I get you. I get where you to get the direction you're coming from. The only reason I ask that is because it's not fair for us to ever say, you know, comments like, man, you know, I seen a few that was bad and, you know, weren't spiritual, or we seen a few that were spiritual and weren't really, you know, fine to the extent that I would desire. When in reality, sometimes our definition of beauty has been skewed by the world, you know. And
that's
I'm
real.
not saying yours was. I can't speak for your mind, but I do know, and I mentioned in the video. Hopefully this doesn't trigger anyone in the comment section, but I mentioned in the YouTube video that growing up, we didn't even realize, but we were trained to think darker skinned women weren't beautiful because they always played the woman that was on drugs. They always played the woman that
Yeah.
was loud. They always played the woman that was abusive. They were never seen as the beautiful woman in any music video, in any movie, anything. But it was always the lighter skinned woman, the Latina, the white woman. So that's why men grew up thinking, oh, okay, well, that's the ideal woman, where a lot of melanated women are looking like, well, what's wrong with me? I'm not even argumentative. Why are y'all making, why
Yeah.
y'all acting like, and then the moment they show emotion, you see, that's exactly what, you know what I'm saying? And I feel as though the media tries to train our mind on what a different definition of beauty is. And a lot
Yeah.
of times our what we're pursuing after is being driven by our lust. Like I seen, you know, and my point is not to attack that guy. I don't watch enough of his videos to have an opinion, but I saw a guy, Kevin Samuels, and he was, you know, telling a woman that she's not a 10. Woman came on like, yeah, I'm a 10. And he's like, nah, no, you're not. But I'm looking like, well, you're not, she's not a 10 to you. And the problem
Exactly.
is we're telling women that they're not a 10, but sometimes when we're telling women, yeah, you're not attractive, a lot of times I guess the way I guess I should say it is, I'm not really attracted to that person, but sometimes we don't realize that we're actually saying a person isn't attractive. And that's why we have to define, well, what do you consider attractive? You know, so there are plenty of questions that our people were asking. I'm trying to dig through, but some
But
of the,
that's why, and you know, man, I always wonder that because at the end of the day, like it is so subjective, right? Like I can't get mad if a woman says, "Oh, I want a guy that's 6'4". Okay, I mean, I guess I'm not the man for you, right? I mean, and it's no hard feelings, but that's your preference. That's what you see as a handsome guy or whatever. And yes, it could be skewed by a whole bunch of different things, right?
yeah.
But this is just me, and I understand everybody's different. But I can't internalize that and say, "Oh, you this type of person, or you this because you only like a guy that's 6'4". No, that's what you like, and it is what it is, right?
Mhm. No, but so the last thing I'll ask, unless something pops up to mind, because I'm skipping over some of these, I'm not even going to dive into.
The
But
question.
yeah, yeah. So one aspect that they were saying is a lot of times, you know, and I feel as though they were targeting you specifically, but that's only because they were viewing that 1 minute video. But I think it's men in general that may have this issue, and that's why I want to bring it up. I think a lot of times we're viewed as men who even women. So ladies in the comments, please don't get mad. But I feel as though we always claim we want a godly woman, but what we really want is someone fine as ever that goes to church. A lot of women say, I want a godly
Ooh,
man, but they want a man they're highly attracted to that goes to church and don't cuss.
that's fair.
we're not really saying anything truthful when we say we want somebody godly. We want someone who believes the same thing as we do spiritually, but that does not mean they're ready for anyone to challenge them spiritually. Anyone that'll say you're wrong or that was a sin, they're not ready for any of those spiritual aspects. So
Yeah.
my thing is, what is your thought process behind the fact that people think, well, Chris says he want a godly woman. Chris don't want a godly woman. Chris want a woman in church that's a baddie. Like, and that's how they'll view you. Or that's how they view
Right.
most men. Don't really want godly women. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Like, and it's funny how people just do that in the internet. They see one little clip and now all of a sudden they know this person, right? Literally, if anybody knows me or even have a conversation with me, that ain't going like a baddie that just goes to church ain't gonna do nothing for me. Like that like literally after a couple conversations, I'm gonna be like, all right, well, I kind of see where you're at, and it's just going, I'm on to the next, right? It's just not gonna work, right? So I mean, for me, that spiritual maturity has to be there, right? It literally has to be there. I need to know that you can pray. I need to know that your heart. I need to know that you understand a lot of the principles of God. I need to know that you can pray and fast, that you can, you know what I mean? I need to know that you can do all these things. So when stuff happens, when life happens, I know that, hey, we can attack this thing together, spiritually, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not just like, oh, and look, I understand how it could come off like, hey, this guy just wants a baddie that goes to church. But that's never been my standard, right? Never, ever been my standard, because the depth in that, right? Of the honor, of their integrity, of the character, of all these different things is so important. It's so important, especially as a man, because I'm a firm believer in that's the second most biggest decision that you will ever make as a person, but as a man too, right? First is giving your life to Christ, and the second is who you decide to spend the rest of your life with. So I take that extremely serious. And just because you're a baddie, that ain't gonna last the test of time, right? It's just not. I mean, it even says that in the word, right? But that also being said, I'm not negating the fact that I enjoy beauty, right? And I want to enjoy my wife and have a healthy sexual desire with my wife and for my wife. That's not negating that at all.
Yeah. I'm not trying to corner you, just getting your thoughts on that. Because there's some people from, I'm assuming they're from your side that thinks, I'm here to terrorize you. I'm reading some of the comments. I'm just like,
man, they coming so fast, I can't even read them. I don't know how you're doing that.
Yeah, but so one thing I'll say is this, because I know you've already made your entire point clear. So this is not because I'm trying to figure out deeper. I'm just trying to get your thought process on this.
Yeah.
Do you believe attraction is something that grows? Because obviously she could be thicker than a Snicker, finest woman you've ever seen on the planet. 10 years from now, couple babies, surgeries, life.
Right.
You don't. So do you view it as, how would you consider beauty growing in the wife that you choose? And even if you say, I'm not judging you, who cares?
No, I got you.
What you desire. So how do you view how would you desire the wife that you choose as attraction growing with her?
Right. Yeah. And I think, so let me try to explain this the best way I can. I think, so there's a certain level of physical attraction when, I get married, right? I had that for my wife. Yada, 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 right? I understand that life's going to happen. Baby's going to come. Body's going to change. All that stuff. But at that point, I say I do. I am loving that woman unconditionally. So that means there's nothing that she can do that would stop me from loving her. Through the Spirit. That's the only way I'll be able to do it. It's through the Spirit I can love her how Christ loves me, right? So that means any changes she goes through, any ups and downs, any babies, or whatever happens, I am loving that person. I am loving that woman. Now, how does attraction grow? I think it grows in seeing how she nurtures my kids. I think it grows in seeing how she helps me support a business venture or whatever, or seeing her ambition and going out and doing something, or serving for the Lord, or doing all these different things throughout life that you go through, right? That you see. I think because marriage is a journey, right? You fall in love more and more with that person as you grow, as you get connected, as you become one, right? So if my goal is to love my wife as God loves me, right? Hey, I'm all the way in. There's no, oh, well, she doesn't look the same now, so I'm gonna dip. And heck no. I made this commitment, right? And maybe that's why I can be a little more extreme sometimes before I get married. But I want to, I'm in it for the long haul, bro, to death. Like, and I say this with a caveat. I know, a lot of men have fallen because of, infidelity and stuff. That's something I'm not going out like that. Period. you know, Come hell or high water, I'm gonna love this woman as best as I can, as Christ loves me. And I'm hoping and praying that, hey, the attraction continues to grow on different levels, not just physically, but emotionally. Yeah, there's different levels of intimacy, right? It's not just all physical. So as we continue to explore that, I fall in love more and more, and hopefully she does the same with me too.
Yeah, man, I feel you with that. The reason why I'm asking is because I think a lot of times we think how we love the person on the wedding day is how it's going to be 30 years from now. The love should be way deeper. If you love the person the same way, chances are you guys aren't growing. You aren't really, and I was just asking because, and I'm not saying, marry someone you're not physically attracted to. I wasn't focused on that, because maybe you can grow in attraction. But I think a lot of times, at least most married people that I do know can say that wasn't my type. I wasn't Safa's type. And I tell her all the time, she wasn't my type. I knew her for years.
I got a question though.
I love, give me some, I love everything about her, but I just viewed her as a friend. But I can honestly say that after pursuing her and all those things, and that's when it's like, well, I wonder how many people, maybe overlooking someone they can pursue because maybe they didn't view them, physically attractive at first. But yeah, go ahead.
You ever, and this is just, look, I'm not no woman guru or anything like that, but I find it always like interesting that a lot more women say that, that, oh, he's not my, like, it's funny how women can grow in love with a man. You know what I mean? That's why you see, men that are not really attractive, but they're funny, right? And they that's their attraction. They're attracted to funny guys, right? So they end up growing in love with women. I know there's men out there that do that, but it just always seems like it's more women that kind of grow in that kind of attraction or love in that aspect than men. I could be wrong. I don't know. But it just always seems that way.
No, I think you could be right. And the reason why I say that is because of your perfect point when you mentioned we're normally the visual ones. Ladies are turned on by what they hear. Guys are turned on by what they see. So a guy will see a woman and boom, like he knows I'll go after her. Or he knows like I ain't interested in that. And a woman, she'll see you and boy, it don't matter how good you think you look that day. She's not going to pay you no mind. But like you said, her laugh, you entertain her like you're a person who hears her out. You're a person that makes her feel seen. A woman doesn't know any of that by first glance. So even if a woman finds you physically attractive and she's like, oh, I definitely talk to him, that does not mean she'll commit to you. A woman knows like, okay, the more she talks to him. I literally just went to one of my homies' weddings and he loved her at first glance. And she looked at him at first glance like, nah, ain't going to happen.
Yeah, Emma.
He made her laugh. He was, always there for all those things. And a lot of people may look at it like, bro, how'd you get her? But in reality, attraction grows differently. He grew physically attracted to her immediately. And her, it was emotional, it was mental, all those things. So I definitely think that's a common thing, but I think it's normally because there's so many layers to a woman. Whereas like they say, sorry if there's anyone young, and they can't really understand what I'm saying. But like they say, a man on site, a man can be ready to go. Him and his wife, you don't need to tell me nothing. We ain't got to do nothing.
You gotta plant seeds with a woman.
Exactly. But woman, foreplay does not start necessarily in the bedroom. It starts in the kitchen. Did you clean up? Did you take care of it? Did you pay the bills? Did you all those things? And that's the reason why I feel as though that's obviously,
I agree 1,000%. And it's so funny how men and women, like I said, we're equal, but we're created so differently sometimes, and I guess that's just a process of, discovering that woman when you do get married,
Yeah, man. But I'm not gonna keep it much longer. My plan was only 30 minutes. Anyhow, I'm gonna give you the last word. I don't know if there's any questions. A lot of emphasis on.
Yeah, and man, I just want to say this too, like just in general, and I think it seems like we always got to caveat this, but like, man, I am a man like everybody else. I'm still a sinner. I am working towards seeing everything on this earth how God sees it in his lens, right? So I am never claiming to be perfect or to know everything or to have everything figured out. I'm on this journey just like everybody else. And if I've given off the impression like I do know everything or I got everything figured out, that couldn't be farther from the truth. So man, I appreciate you for having me on, to have this kind of healthy dialogue. I think it's important. I think a lot of the people, I mean, hopefully they enjoyed it. But yeah, man, I mean, I think, you know, we all in this thing together. We all this thing growing, trying to be more like Jesus each and every day, you know?
I'm gonna give you 3 rapid fire. I'm gonna ask 3 of these questions that they have. Give you 6 seconds.
All right,
Man, yeah,
let's get it. Let's get it.
because I would hate to make a video and people think I'm trying to get views off of you. Nah, I want him to explain, because it's easy for me to look at like, man, this brother tripping. I'd rather you say, this is what I meant. Please don't take this out of context. Oh, well, even if I was wrong, it gives you a chance to, you know, say what what you're really thinking, you know. So I don't want to, but all right, so I'm gonna give you 3. This one, Lord help me. All right, question. All right, this person says, do you ask God about your posts before posting them? Okay, all right.
Yeah, most definitely. And not just God. I ask God, I ask my godly counsel. Look, I have a group of, man, maybe about 20 men. It's really like maybe 9, but like 20 completely, right? That I look at for godly counsel, right? That I answer to, that I'm under submission under. So it's not just me just saying, oh, I just post whatever I want whenever I want it, right? There's a big filter that all, really everything that I do goes through, right? So yeah, I do.
And you're referring to like guys at your local church, or is it just like a local community that you have
No,
with?
both. I got guys from high school, I got guys from college, I got guys from law school, and I got the guys from my local church.
Okay. All right. Second one, someone said, would you consider a woman godly if she posted photos of herself in her underwear? Would that be a woman that you passed up?
Would that be a woman I passed up?
Yeah, like you see that, you're like, nah, I'm good. I'm not, you know.
Um, so for me, I think it also depends on the context, right? So like me personally, I'm not gonna get on a woman if she's in the bathing suit. I mean, it's kind of the same thing as underwear, but I don't know. But so if a woman's at like in a bathing suit on the beach, I'm not gonna like crucify her for that, right? I'm not gonna pass her up strictly for that, right? I think there's a level of, like, you can kind of see the intent of a picture, where it's the pose, where it's the caption, where it's the whatever the creative artistry of it, right? You can kind of see the intention of that post, right? If a woman's just in a bathing suit, I'm not automatically going, hey, that's not a godly woman. I'm not thinking there, because like I said, like I've seen women in bathing suits that I didn't even go to lust, right? I was like, man, hey, she fit, she doing the thing. And then if she's a fitness influencer too, or a fitness trainer, and you're showing off your body like for the thing, it like I said, it really depends on the context, right? Certain things like that, look, I get it. I'm not about to, overlook a woman because of that. But I do understand, like, that's a very, tedious thing to a certain extent. Because I can see how people be like, nah, you got this, showing off this, it's a wrap, right? But nah, like, depending on the context, it could waver for me.
Yeah, I feel you with that. I think context definitely matters. I think, bear in mind, I don't care for my wife posting that, but I feel as though it's 2 different things if a woman posts a bathing suit in her room and one at the beach. Same outfit.
Context.
You know, so I want to try to. I'm not trying to corner you with that. So I definitely get what you're saying. And the last one I'll ask. Man, I had just saw it. Oh Lord, where did it go? Give me a second. Okay, yeah, this one. And the reason I wanted to ask this one, because it kind of connects to something that I had to personally deal with. It says, what happens when your wife doesn't want you to post shirtless photos? What if she posted photos that were similar? And the reason why I asked that is because I used to train people. While I was in the military, when I got out, I would help people, but I realized all of the people that wanted help were women. And I'm just like, well, obviously progress photos. And I'm looking like, well, that ain't something that can escalate. You know what I mean? It can go from I'm seeing progress to I'm seeing porn, and my wife was like, no, I'm not comfortable with it. So I stopped. No, I'm not training anyone, so I still work out. You know what I mean? But I'm not, my goal is if a guy needs help, you know, I can one-on-one with him. If a woman needs help, I can give you generic advice, you know? So my thing is, like the person said, when this person, when you're married, that day comes and God blesses you with a wife, what if she looks at the Manscaped, or what if she looks at the whatever you're posting and says, babe, I don't think that context was proper, you know? So what makes you, what is your response then? Or will you tell her like, honey, it's the context, or like, what's your thoughts? Because I know you said
wife, yeah,
it's business. So.
yeah. If my wife has a problem with that, it's a wrap. That simple.
Yeah.
My goal is not to be this like we're one. My goal is not to be this independent being that's doing this. And if my wife says she has a problem with that, right, it's a wrap. If my wife says she has a problem with a relationship because she knows the woman might be attracted, it's a wrap. Like I'm not, like I said, I'm not playing with my wife in those aspects at all. I want her to be 100% secure. I want her to always know where she stands with me. So if my wife has an issue with those things, bro, that's easy for me. It's a wrap. It is a wrap.
Yeah, like somebody just commented, you cross that bridge when you get there. And you're right, man. I think, like they said, I knew a leader who told me there's some decisions that I make that I don't make. I give it to someone with veto power. They mentioned they give their wife the ability. If my wife says yes, my wife says no. That's it.
That's smart.
Pastor, they give their pastor on the biggest decisions. My pastor say yes or no. I'm leaning on what they say. You know, so I definitely get what you're saying. You know, you're making sure you protect your union. But Chris, pleasure getting a chance to meet you, Tavares. You need it here for you guys. I appreciate you guys listening. I'll do a little bit of a wrap up recap type of thing. I don't know if you don't ain't telling you got to get off, but just not saying you got to get off the video, but I'm exiting it off now.
No, I got you. Man, I appreciate you, bro. Again, it was a pleasure. It was an honor. Keep doing your thing. Keep doing it for the Lord, man. God bless.
Blessings, fam.
All right, man.